welcome to Make It Happen. My name is Justin Beaudry, and I'm here at the Law 419 in downtown Toledo. Here on a new segment we're calling How They Made It, and I'm with Melinda Alic of Koolpad. And Melinda, can you tell me a little bit about what Koolpad is?
Sure. The Koolpad is a temperature regulation case for iPads. So it uses passive cooling next to the iPad to keep workflow and operational mechanics working, the iPads working without shutting down when it's extreme hot or cold.
Okay, guys, and this would be for engineers or construction individuals who are out deployed in the field.
Yes, absolutely. So it was originally developed for quick service restaurants, thinking of Chick-fil-A, out taking orders in the drive, and extreme temperatures come down on the iPads and they just shut down when it gets too hot. So it's for them, it's for construction workers that are using them out in the field. We've actually found a lot of use with rail maintenance. So rail maintenance companies will use them to take their iPads out and work on the rails when it's really hot. And they've actually adapted it also when it's cold. So there's a cool brick and a hot brick temperature element that works for each solution.
Very cool. So can you tell me the genesis of this? Like, how did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, so I was a marketing and brand director at Chick-fil-A in Findlay, Ohio, and it was 2020. The drive-thrus were booming, they were going crazy, and I watched team members go out, take orders, and they had these big blue ice bricks in the hand strap underneath. And they would last about 15, 20 minutes on like a 95-degree day. And then they would come running inside and they had to swap the blue brick, the big blue brick they had in there out, sometimes lay the iPad down, let it cool down, and then go back out. So that's kind of where it all started. I was like, there has to be a better way to keep these going and to have less interruption. So speed of service is a big deal for an operation like Chick-fil-A. So those interruptions can be costly over time.
Very cool. So you started from a problem that you observed. Very neat.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you're in brand and marketing. How do you go from being in brand and marketing to developing a physical product?
Well, I knew nothing about how to do a product at all. So and this was before AI really picked up. So YouTube was my teacher, to be honest with you, and just asking a lot of questions to a lot of industry leaders, engineers, manufacturers. But it started with just a quick kind of set it up as a box at home and some of my kids' lunchbox ice packs, if you will. And I actually, there was a student at Chick-fil-A at the time that had a 3D printer at home. And I went in and sat down with him and said, hey, can we turn this into something for real? And I want to try it. And so I knew nothing about 3D printing then either. So I deep dived with YouTube into 3D printing. It needed filament. Like I bought the filament off of Amazon. I had to learn all those things. And so we got the first prototype from this Tinkercad file and a 3D printer at home. And that's how we had the first prototype. So I actually still have those at home, which is really exciting. But I deep dive everything. So I love to learn. So YouTube was my teacher then, which is interesting. But there was a couple inventors groups that I didn't get involved in, but I just followed them and watched them. And I would get one question answered and then deep dive on that. And then that would kind of lead me to the next question, the next stage, and what I need to do next. So it really was just kind of this organic growth of learning as I went. Bumps and bruises along the way,
Sure, yeah.
Ways I was bootstrapping the entire time as well, working full time, raising 3 kids at home. So it was a lot. It was a lot, but I loved it. It was like my passion project. So
very
I really
cool.
enjoyed it.
So you went. How long did it take you to go from prototype to getting your first customer?
Yeah, so prototype started in 2020. First sales were in 2022. So I had reached out to Chick-fil-A operators in the area to see, or all over the United States to see who wanted to test the cases. I had 178 responses. And the 3D printed cases at that time, we had moved them into a HP Fusion injection molded case. And so I could only afford at that time about 5 of the cases at the time. So I chose 5 of the hottest states: Texas, Georgia, Arizona. I just picked 5, and then we sent the cases to those, and they did all the testing for us to kind of see how they turned out and if things were working. And then we made different integrations. So the first Koolpad that came out was a mini. It was for an iPad mini 4 and 5, and first sales were in 2022. So
Wow. So 2022, you've got it in the hottest states, and you're doing like a design partnership then with these groups, giving them maybe some kind of discount to give you feedback.
they have them free. I give them to them free.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they were testing for me, so they were free, and it just made sense because I needed the feedback. I mean, that was really the testing. I didn't have a lab. I didn't have, things to go to, so I just put it in the real world and tested it that way.
So how did the feedback rounds go?
It was great. It was great. The feedback was great. It was working. It was solving the problem. It was easy to use, and so it went very, very well. And then I moved we then added on the 6th generation, the iPad Mini 6, and then moved quickly into iPad Mini 7th, 8th, and 9th. And then we did another one for the 10th and 11th, and that was all 3D printing. So again, the prices were high, so the profit margin wasn't great at that time. And I was still working and doing all the things. So sales continued to grow, which was really encouraging, and it just kept going from there. So I had to then figure out what I was going to do from there. And that's kind of what led me into, taking the next steps from there.
So you got you maintained the 3D printed prototype. You didn't really have to make any changes based on the initial user tests?
So the only changes we had to make was adapting the case to the new iPad.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so like as
That
the
makes
iPad
sense.
went from the 4.5 to the 6, then we had to make, adjust the camera, because it works where you've got all your power things are exposed, and you can still plug in, you can still use the camera. We actually had a card reader attachment that was actually part of the original cases as well, that they could actually attach the card reader attachment, would spin on the back, so it could truly be a hands-free unit in drive-thrus. So
very cool.
That's how it started. Yeah,
That's how it started,
So
but you've moved away from that design.
We did. We didn't have a lot of people using that. So in this new design, as people were using, we gathered all that information, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So as I held on to that information, one of the feedback was the card reader just wasn't being utilized as much as we thought it would be. And so we took that out of the new design.
So 2020 to 2022, 2-year turnaround
Yes.
to get your first customers.
Yes.
Fast forward, we're in 2026. How is Koolpad looking right now?
Yeah, so I'll back up just for a second. So I did have a provisional patent in 2020 as well. And so that patent solidified in 2024, December of 2024.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
exciting.
Which is great, really great. And then 2025, so I'd left Chick-fil-A at the time and was a marketing director for another company for a while, for a few years. And then in 2025, January, I became an empty nester. And I said, I'm going to walk away from my full-time job. I'm going to have a part-time job to keep the lights on, and I'm going all in. I have to see what I can do and try to really bring this to life. And of course, my 24-year-old son said, Mom, are you sure? Like, does that make sense? And I said, I will never forgive myself if I don't try. Like, I have to see what I can do with it. And so throughout that year was a lot of pitching and really preparing for different opportunities. So I do want to add, so the University of Toledo Business Incubator has been great, and they have been with me since 2021. They've really been advocates. They've been supportive. They've really brought a lot of resources to me along the way as well. So I'm very grateful to them for that, and still continue to work with them today. And then Magnet, which is out of Cleveland, which is the Manufacturing Advocacy and Growth Network. They also, I worked with Maggie from there for a year as a mentor, and she just really also added a lot to allow me to get to where I'm at today. So brought those opportunities to me. And so, 2025, well, actually, let me back up. 2023, I participated in the University of Toledo. Then it was called the pitch competition. I got 3rd place, which was really exciting. And so that was the first part of that. And then in March, I applied for MSpire and was chosen to be mentored through Magnet with them for the next year. So in 2025 is when I really started pitching and getting those things together. And then September of 2025 is when I finally got funded. And so that was life-changing and really great, because then I could really see moving the Koolpad from the 3D into injection molding, and they're durable. We took all that feedback and just put it into this new case, and it's really been great. So
now now they're actually injected, molded, manufactured in a proper facility for that kind of thing.
Yes, right here in Toledo, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
DRS Industrial is here in Toledo, and they do aluminum tooling. So we were able to cut down on the cost of steel tooling by using aluminum tooling, which also works toward the model of changes to the iPad as it continues. It allows us to do changes to the tooling as well.
Oh, that's right, because each time we get a new generation of iPad, you have to basically make sure that the Koolpad works for that new generation.
Yeah, so the new one does fit the 7th generation through the 11th generation. And then if the 12th comes out, it also fits that. I checked the specs of the 12th, so it does actually go through that as well. And then we can also do, so the newest one that have come out is Samsung Galaxy has their newest one out where they've tested in like 130 degrees. And I think that the results are still out, like we're still waiting to see, but I think their test results came back well. We can adapt if we would need to that as
like
well.
Other Android tablets,
Yes.
et cetera. That makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, we aren't right now, but it's something we can adapt to based on talking to the manufacturer, and it's something we can build something to adapt.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So your journey, you through here in Toledo, you've been manufacturing this product. Very cool. So, I wanted to just take a step back away from Koolpad for a second,
Sure.
and maybe just focus in on your own journey through this.
Sure.
How has your education, your life experiences led you to this moment?
It's interesting. So I have an associate degree in accounting, and I have used that and was at EY for a long time, for about 5 years in tax, actually. So from there, I went into accounting and got into IT accounting part, and then actually went back for some Adobe classes at Ohio State that were non-credited, just some quick classes.
Yeah.
And when I got married and stayed home with my kids, I was able to launch like my marketing and web design company. And so that was my supplemental income, allowing me to kind of be home with my family, but also be working. So all of that knowledge I had, from accounting to tax to, marketing to the branding that I did to websites. So all of that has been done for Koolpad. I did all of that for Koolpad. So I didn't have to seek out other companies to make that happen. Now, is it cream of the crop? Probably not, but it's well enough that it's something that, works and has worked well for, professional imaging for the company. So those are the experiences I've had that have kind of led to that. I had grandparents when I was growing up that were entrepreneurs. I had a grandfather who had his own electric company, and then a grandmother who ran a restaurant. So I worked in the restaurant for a while. And so I watched firsthand sort of, my grandparents running their companies and doing these kinds of things too. So I think that has a little bit to do with it.
Yeah, it's almost like you've had your own entrepreneur personalized incubator as throughout your career.
Right.
Very cool. So, given all of that, where do you see Koolpad going in the future?
Yeah, so right now we're really focused on growing in the QSR market and the rail mains, as I mentioned.
QSR?
Quick service restaurant.
Okay.
So that's what Chick-fil-A would be considered.
Oh, okay, right.
We have Swig and Seven Brew, those kind of places, trying them right now. But really, everyone's starting to move outside with more mobility and using the iPads in that kind of way. And so I think it's only going to continue to grow. We're 2x over last year since we've launched new cases, which is great.
Yeah.
And so I'm really hoping that growth continues. I've got a couple procurement conversations in the works that could turn into larger sales, which would be great. Other than that, it's just me. I'd like to grow and be able to bring more people into the company and really solve this problem across the board for anyone who needs it, really. And by growing and getting other people in, I'll be able to grow, expand that more. The manufacturing can support that now, which is great. So it was kind of step one, if you will.
Yeah. So can we do a little bit of a deep dive into, without giving away your secret sauce, so to speak?
Sure.
Can we talk about how you're actually keeping the device cool or warm?
There's actually a temperature element inside the case that I can show you.
Can you define for our audience what a temperature element is?
Sure. We're calling it a cool brick and a hot brick, but inside there's like I actually white label them out of Kent, Ohio, actually, but it is a packet that has sort of like a foam inside with a refrigerant, if you will. So when you freeze it, it gets really, really hard and it stays cool for a very long time. Generally, they can do 2 to 3 hours in that 90 degree. One of the test samples we had was in Arizona, 104 degrees, direct sunlight outside, no canopy or anything over them. And it lasted for just under 2 hours. And then they just swap out the cool bricks, put new ones in that are frozen, and just keep on going.
Okay, so there's an easy way to swap them out, I'm assuming.
There is, yeah, and there are two compartments in here, so you kind of open it on the end. The iPad goes on this top compartment, and then underneath is where the Koolpad, the cool bricks go, and they are separated by a wall, so it helps keep the condensation off of the technology as well, which is really important.
Yeah, that's smart.
And so you do 2 in here, 2 of the cool bricks or 2 of the hot bricks, depending on which one you're using. So what's great about it too is my competitors tend to use fans or battery pack in a fan. And so it's a little counterintuitive. You're plugging a USB into the end of the iPad that's already overheating and drawing from the power, right? So this is passive cooling, which works really well because then you don't have to pull from the battery. It's also safe for environments like refineries or places where they would be worried about a spark, like maybe it's construction sites, even things like that.
Yeah.
The goal is to keep it passive so there isn't an electric spark or anything like that. And then you can't break a fan and the battery doesn't die. So the passive cooling works really well for that.
Right. I mean, because there's no moving parts either, effectively the case lasts as long as it's A, its durability, and B, between its use, right?
Yes. And the cool bricks are sustainable. You just reuse them. But we do offer options of I third party them, but we do offer options of like that quick crack and shake to kind of instant cold, if you will, and instant hot, hot hands for instant hot. And the reason that we have those is there are some use cases where people don't have a freezer, or they don't have a microwave or something to heat them or cool them, and they just need them quick. The only drawback to that is the instant cold doesn't last as long. So to get the full capability of the 2 to 3 hours that you really want to use the cool bricks.
Very cool. Yeah. So you mentioned there's a layer in between to prevent condensation. Is it? Oh, okay. I see. It's literally a physical injected molded layer. Yeah.
It's a wall. Yeah. And that really is what sets it apart from a lot of them too. There are some other solutions out there that uses passive cooling, but the iPad sits directly on the cooling element. So you're always at risk when that happens because there will still be condensation with these. They're made to absorb. That's what the foam is for, is to absorb. But anytime you're in a change of element, you're going to have some condensation. So it does still happen. So the goal is to prevent that as much as we can.
Right.
In the new releases, I actually put in a poly bag, which will allow.
Poly bag?
It's like a high plastic, like what you get a shirt in from a store, or like an Amazon plastic bag. So if you slide those cool bricks into the poly bag and then seal them, it just gives a second barrier to the condensation and allows even quicker like withdraw and insert because they're all one piece together.
That makes sense. So they can easily like pull it in. Okay, I've got more in the freezer over here. Very cool.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that we learned over time too was that people, I don't know that they're measuring the cost of tech downtime. So if the tech goes down, they, okay, we're going to lay it to the side. Apple says, let it sit for 20 minutes and then regain its power and then it'll come back on. And so, one of the things I put on the website is a calculator to actually allow you to calculate what that downtime equals. So it's using a few factors and you can put your data points in. So it's the number of iPads you have, the hourly rate for someone using them, the number of incidences that you might have of tech downtime a week. And so you put those in and then it annualizes it, plus the cost of the Koolpad to prevent it. So you put all those numbers in and you hit the button and it calculates, it shows you what you're actually losing, and which people are baffled about. They're really kind of surprised. And then it also shows you the return on investment. If you were to buy Koolpad, the return on investment number, that percentage tends to be pretty large. And the payback's quick, which is great. So it makes it financially a no-brainer, and it's protecting your tech at the same time. So that investment that everyone's making in technology for mobile, this is just a second way of like protecting it, and then that money can be used for something else. And I don't know if it's being measured. I'd like to think some companies are, but we put it on the website so people can go out and actually do that measurement themselves and see what that looks like.
That's a very smart sales tool. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, so given that you've described a little bit about possibly going Android, are there other growth avenues that you're thinking about for Koolpad?
I think just adapting currently to iPads or things that come out.
Sure.
I think that's part of it, like you already mentioned. But I also think we do ship. So I ship 10 to Dubai, to a company out of Dubai, and so I do think international sales will be a thing because I think it's just hotter in other locations.
Definitely.
And so I do think there'll be an expansion into that as well. And it's really just me getting the word out right now. So I'm really just doing the best I can to get the word out about it, so people know it exists, know it's out there, and that it's solving the problem. And it goes a little slow when it's just you.
Yeah.
So that's been the biggest thing. So I think, the more I can get it out there and get the word out to everyone, I hope the better. As far as growth goes, there's so many opportunities. We really just thought QSR, construction, rail. And what I've learned is even just through organic sales, I've had the city of Cincinnati, like their sewer and water department, like they're reaching out. I've had pilots reach out that are interested as well. And
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And like surveyors, because they're using iPads, drone. So it's as much as what I stay focused on the industries that we have, it really has expanded into anyone using iPads, and we've stayed business to business so far, but the website's out there, anyone can purchase. So it really is available for anybody.
Hey folks, thank you for checking out the podcast. We're going to take a quick break to thank one of our sponsors, because around here in Northwest Ohio, we believe in hard work, but we also know work shouldn't be harder than it has to be. Let me tell you about a local AI consulting and implementation team, Actual Reality Technologies. If you're a business owner who hates spending nights and weekends buried in spreadsheets, reports, and paperwork that should already be done, or if your people are stuck doing the same repetitive tasks over and over instead of focusing on the work that actually moves the business forward, that's where Actual Reality Technologies comes in. They build smart systems that automate your processes, monitor your operations, and surface answers without adding more work to your team. And they're doing it right here in Toledo, building technology in and for Northwest Ohio, helping local businesses run safer, smoother, and smarter. So if you've got processes you want to automate, the problems you need solved, give them a call. Actual Reality Technologies, helping our community work smarter. You can hit them up at www.actualreality.tech. Let's get back to the Make It Happen podcast.
Welcome back to Make It Happen. I'm here with Melinda Alic talking about Koolpad. And Melinda, I wanted to discuss more of your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure.
And specifically, if you could go back and do it all over again, is there anything you would change?
It's a good question. I don't know that I'd change anything. I think everything sort of happened organically, and I just kind of I think taking it as it's come has been great. I think there was a period of time where I was 3D printing, and I had a client come to me that was a big client. It was a great big client. And I wasn't in a place that I could have fulfilled the order. And I learned quickly on the fly, I didn't have the paperwork ready. I didn't have the, fulfillment funds ready, with the manufacturer. So it was really tough during that time. I reached out to my resources at the time, but it was just very difficult to bring it all together because A, I didn't understand and know exactly what all needed to be brought together. And then B, the resources just weren't there to make it happen. So I think if I could have predicted that a little bit and been more ready, I'm not sure that I could have, but I think it's all worked out fine. And I think it's someone who we're sort of revisiting now. So I think it's working out okay now. But that was one of the kind of really tough parts, was realizing that I want to take this order. I really do, but I couldn't, and I had to say no. And it was best that I said no in retrospect. After talking to some of the, like my investors and stuff now, they're like, it was actually really good that you did that, because had you not been in the situation to fulfill, they're a much bigger company, it would not have gone well. And then the reputation of Koolpad would not have been good. So it was good that I took a pause and said, we're just not ready. And I'm not going to take that move until, we're ready. So I'm glad that I did that. That was one of the things that if I could have been ready, I would have changed that. But yeah.
Yeah, smart. And so with that, I have a follow-up question around that.
Sure.
Is there anything, in that moment, it doesn't sound like you wanted to give up, but is there any moments that you wanted to just give up?
Sure. There were moments. So during the winter months, so my sales generally worked came to the company, the season was between April and August. So during those down times, when I really gathered information, tried to do what I could to improve the case the next time we did another rendition of it, or another version for the iPad. However, there was a lot of time there where I'm like, is this worth it? Is it, especially raising children at that time and doing a full-time job as well and running for their activities, and like, is it really something I want to continue to do? So I definitely had moments where it felt like, giving up or maybe it's not worth it. But then I always had these I regrouped and kept going, and I would get little things would come to me too, where someone would ask about it, or someone would reach out and call me, and then I'd have a conversation, sort of rejuvenate things at that point too. So yes, those moments have definitely been a part of the journey. But I just really had a passion to solve the problem. I knew it was solving the problem. And so then I just wanted to see it through. I just really wanted to see it.
In those moments, like, how do you get the grit to just stick with it?
I think I'm just I've always been a survivor. Like, I've always been someone who takes a punch and gets back up. Like, it's just one of those things, not literally takes a punch, but it's just one of those, I think when you put so much time into it and thought into it, and I learned, and I love the learning part, that's really the part I love so much, I just couldn't give up. It's just one of those, I just had a commitment to the product itself and just didn't want to give up. And I didn't want to let down the clients that were already using the case either. Like I wanted to improve it and keep improving it and make it a better solution for them. And that was a big part of it as well. That was a lot of the drive, really.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. I wanted to switch gears a little bit and ask, we're in the age of AI.
Yes.
I just came back from Google I/O and it was exciting, and we're in this new era of AI agents. And so, as I think about AI every day, I'm really, really curious about how AI is helping you to accelerate your business.
Sure. I love AI. I've used it a lot. I know there was a lot of caution around it in the beginning, but as a solopreneur, it has really allowed me to move faster. Using I've used it in multiple ways. Obviously the ChatGPT. I've used it for quick research on a client. I've looked for it, or I've used it for, contract generating, things like that, and set up some automation as well to make my life easier as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It just goes a lot faster. The ROI calculator that I talked about online, actually I built that in Lovable AI and then integrated it into my Shopify store. And it was so fast, I couldn't believe it. So I come from a dark age where we did, Visual Basic, like I'm dating myself, but we did Visual Basic and we did Access and the user interface was through an Access form. And so really took a lot of time to do that. And then to be able to create this form and get it on the website so quickly blew my mind. It's just unbelievable. So,
it is very, it's very exciting to see how quickly you can iterate on it.
It is.
So more specifically around the tooling, are you using like Claude now? What's your modern tools look like?
Yeah. So honestly, the manufacturer really handles all that. So I think the engineers have handled, I'm not sure what tools they use. I think AutoCAD. Honestly, I think they're still using AutoCAD. Is that what you mean? Like when they developed it?
Specifically, I meant like for your business, for how you're using it in the business.
For the tools in my business. Yeah. So, because I started with ChatGPT and it has all the information about me, I've kind of sat with it.
Yeah. I'm
waiting to figure out how to take all the information in ChatGPT and get that spread out, through GEO, right? So I use SEO on the website, and I don't know if GEO is the term. I've heard it called multiple different things. So
that is one of the terms I've heard as well, GEO, yeah.
So the goal is to educate all of the AI LLMs to, recognize Koolpad and what it is. So everyone's saying the same thing, getting on the same page.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to do that yet, but I'm hoping that that's something. I haven't really had time to do that yet, but I think that's something that's the next stage that has to happen. And, I've attended the Ohio Tech Summit and was around C-suite individuals down to startups and entrepreneurs like myself. And I love the conversation that's going on with AI right now. I think that the governance and the responsibility that needs to be there to implement it into companies, even though we're all, I think, on the hamster wheel trying to catch up with all of it and keep our arms around it at the same time.
Yeah.
But I do think that exists, and I think it exists in the hands of the right people in tech to allow it to, to be responsible and to get that set up the way we need to. So I'm excited. It's exciting to be in this stage of as an entrepreneur and allows me to move so much faster than I could have. Even when I was doing those YouTube videos, imagine how quickly I could have learned how to bring a product to market now.
Right.
Then, and I do ask those questions, even for advice, like what's the next move to make? What's another good, way to go? And
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You mentioned when we were talking off camera that you had gone to the Ohio X. Can you tell me a little bit about that? I think you mentioned you went on the
hustle bus.
The hustle bus. Yes, I know that's Shanna Greathouse's.
Yes.
With Piggyback. Yeah.
It was a great experience. So I actually drove to Cleveland from Findlay, which I know sounds crazy, but drove to Cleveland, spent the night, got up the next morning, got on the hustle bus with about 20 entrepreneurs. It was a fantastic experience. We rode the bus then down to the Ohio Tech Summit in Columbus. And during that time, they had a videographer and a podcast in the back of the bus. And we just got to know each other. It was so great to be around founders and people who are at all stages of their companies and businesses, to learn about their business and what they were doing, and then to hear of their journeys and the things they've gone through. Loved every minute of it. It was so great. Great people. The people I met were phenomenal. I plan to stay in contact with as many of them as I can. And then we go down to Ohio Tech Summit, and then that's a phenomenal conference as well, which was great. And so
That's put on by Ohio X, right?
it is, yes. And I did join Ohio X, and I've been attending their dinner clubs, which have been great because it's taking me to, here to Toledo, it's taking me to Columbus, it's taking me to Cincinnati. And I love that they're doing that because it really is kind of bridging a gap to just information sharing in each city. I think that's great because, what happens here, no one knows about in Columbus. And what happens in Columbus, we don't always know about here. So I think it's great that Ohio X is making those efforts to really share the message about tech and grow tech in Ohio. I think it's fantastic. Happy to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And then when we got back from the Ohio X, from the hustle bus, it was late. I drove home after that. But my mind was full of just everything we learned, all the amazing people I met, their journeys, what they're doing. I mean, a million things I gleaned from the whole. And I think I work from home on my own. So I think just being around other like-minded people, I learned a ton. It was really great.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So that's Shanna Greathouse out of Cleveland. She's got her own sort of piggyback. And then she's also with Sarah Barrick, I believe, has the Ohio Startup Network as well.
Yes.
And then I know you mentioned Alicia Wagner also was
here
joining
in
you.
Toledo.
Yeah, another fellow Toledo entrepreneur. So thank you for helping to spread the word of the cool thing, the cool people doing cool things in Northwest Ohio.
Right, exactly. I think Toledo needs a hustle bus. I think we need to do that.
I love that idea. Yes, I love the idea.
I'm in.
In particular, we could make it happen.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you specifically, like, throughout this entrepreneurial journey, what have you learned about yourself?
So I think the biggest thing I've learned is I love to learn. That's been a big part of it. I'm a sponge. I can't get enough of it. Like, I want to learn something new all the time. But the most important thing that I think has really helped as well in the journey is that I'm a quick executor. So is you learn something new, and a lot of people deep dive on the research, and I definitely do my research. You have to look up things before you launch them. But I do think taking that step of action and execution really does propel you quicker through the process. And I guess food for thought is this: you can spend all your time researching and just research a ton, and you're still going to launch, and you're probably still going to have something you have to revisit even after all that time. So why not execute quicker, and then you're going to be revisiting to make changes anyway. So I think that's worked to my benefit, honestly, is to be able to do that. Now, it was a slow journey, don't get me wrong, but I do think that's the thing I've learned that actually is, I didn't know that about myself, and I did learn that along the way. So
yeah, that's very interesting, and I think that it's definitely a software agile perspective as well. But what I find prescient about what you said is that in the age of AI, right, it is going to be the individuals who do learn and who do execute quicker who are going to get the most value out of AI, right?
Yes.
Because I'm assuming AI is a part of that research you're doing as well.
It is 100%. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I think that's all the questions that I had.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for your deep dive in Koolpad.
Sure.
For sharing your personal journey and story on Make It Happen. And again, this was the Make It Happen podcast. This was how they made it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was my pleasure. Melinda Alic with Koolpad, and it's cool people doing cool things in Northwest Ohio.